Welcome to Ink Scribes. I'm Eric Zawadzki, the artist of Assorted Crisis Events.
I'm Taylor Stauft, creator of Luke Zenith and Scorpio Gold.
I'm Nickolej Villiger, and I'm an independent comic artist from Calgary, and I am the author, writer, same thing, artist, jar, same thing on radio days.
Cool. And I'm an unlicensed Amway product salesman.
But in his spare time,
does Amway even exist anymore?
It sure does.
Does it? Well, thank God. Thank God that hasn't disappeared. And now I have some hope.
In his spare time, though, Geof Darrow is a unbelievable comic book artist. That's not how it's pronounced?
I'm just an idiot, so.
No.
You know, I've got a credit card.
Genius.
Oh, Jesus. I've got a credit card, and I had a business. I had to start a business, which just for legal reasons. And when they gave me the credit card, the business credit card, and they said, well, what's your occupation? And I said, well, I'm like an artist. So when I got the card, it says Geof Darrow artist. This is the most pretentious thing. It bothers me every time I see it. It's like, jeepers cripes. You know.
I guess it's less pretentious to just be like a comic book guy.
Yeah, but that cartoonist, that'd be fine. Or comic book guy.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I've kind of defaulted to cartoonist in my later years.
Yeah, that's not a bad title.
Yeah, I'm not. I'm not ashamed of it, and I still like. I'm this guy. I draw comic books, and I hardly ever say graphic novel. I don't think it gets it. It's just, it's like, well, they generally do start out as comic books.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway.
So I wanted to start off by pointing out that this book just came out as of the filming of this. And it's interesting. It says 21 years of blood, sweat, and chainsaws. And 21 years is the origin of the name Shaolin Cowboy. But the character is more than 40 years old, right?
Well, yeah, because, when it was like the 20th anniversary of what became the Shaolin Cowboy, Dark Horse paid no heed to it, and I brought it up to my editor. I said, you celebrated this, you celebrated that. I'm just curious as to why. I granted you probably don't like the book that much, and they said, oh no, well we can do something. And this was already October, almost November. And I said, well, there's like 2 months. What could you do in 2 months? And they said, well, I said, forget it. I said, but if you want, I said, we can bring it out, next year. And we'll say it's the 21st anniversary because nobody ever celebrates 21 years. And I thought that would be funny. Okay. I said, okay, we'll do that.
Yeah.
So we did it. But then, it was supposed to be out about 6 or 7 months ago, and they even missed the 21st anniversary. So by the time it came out, it was 22 years. Yeah.
I think that actually makes the joke funnier, though.
Yeah. But I always kind of thought Shaolin Cowboy is just a continuation of that character that's in that book you're talking about. It's in the comics and stories. But the more I did it, I realized they're related, but it's not the same guy, because he was the Bourbon Threat was a lot nicer, I think. Kind of a funny guy.
He does seem a lot jollier.
Yeah. I sent it to I remained friends with an ex-girlfriend, and I sent her a copy of the last one. And she hadn't seen it. And she said, he seemed to be, he was a lot nicer before.
Well, he was a lot more quiet. Before.
Yeah, and
there was a lot more speaking in this, because you're talking about Cruel to Be Kin, right?
Yeah, that one. Yeah.
Which I do want to ask you about.
Pretty angry. Yeah.
I specifically want to ask you about the writing process of this one. But before that, I did want to jump in to just I have so many questions about the history of Bourbon Threat, and I believe there are stories out there that you were hanging out with Dave Stevens,
Yes.
and he was being published by Pacific Comics.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Pacific Comics, I guess, as a publisher, was only around from 81 to 84. And
Yeah.
there were stories of you creating pitch pages and potentially getting published by Pacific Comics. What did the pitch pages look like? Was it?
That's what I can't remember. It's been so long, but it's probably what was in that. If you look in that collection, and you go back, there's like 4 pages that are in black and white. They're right there. That is how I originally drew it. That was printed in France first, in Metal Hurlant, as you can see, and you know, but it came. That might have been what I showed him. I can't remember, because I know at the time David Scroggie was the editor of, was it Pacific Presents? Was that the name of the?
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I believe was like the anthology series.
Yeah, and it was going to be in there, and then they went bankrupt, and then David Scroggie, he was my agent for a little bit, and he sold it Heavy Metal, and it was printed in Heavy Metal, but it was it was a little too dense, and so I actually had a friend of mine. I couldn't do it. I had a friend named Jim Stenstrom, who was a writer at Warren Publications. He wrote a lot of great comics, one of which he did this Neil Adams comic called Thrill Kill. He wrote that. And, and I understand that was one of Neil Adams' favorite comics. And he was really good. He wrote a lot of series for them. One called Rex Havoc and the Ass Kickers of the Fantastic. And just a lot of really good stuff. And his logo was really great. It was like a circle with a butt with a footprint on it. But he broke it down and he cut it up, and they turned that 4-page thing into, I think it was 10 pages. I don't remember. So what you see in that comics and stories is what Jim helped me break it up. So I had to add things, a couple things, but it's mostly. But the other way it was originally supposed to be shown was that 4-page thing in Metal Hurlant.
And that's what I wanted
to. 4-page story, so I tried to jam as much as I could into it.
Yeah, and sorry, that's what I wanted to ask you about, because like comparing like this first panel here.
Yeah,
you clearly added stuff. You clearly added stuff to the bottom there.
Yeah.
So, I mean, was that like a frustrating process, or?
I'd already finished it, and it's like going back, and I just wanted to move on to something else. I don't know if you guys feel like that. It's like going back always kind of bothers me, because I feel like I'm spinning my wheels and wasting time. Do you guys know what I mean? You must know what I mean. Or maybe it doesn't bother you guys.
All the time. Yeah.
Well, like right now, I've got another Shaolin Cowboy coming out in July, and now I'm doing all the stuff for the collection, which comes out in February, and it's like I'm already done with this. I'm gonna go back and add this stuff, and I feel like I'm losing time.
Does that mean you want to get started on the very next Shaolin Cowboy?
Yeah, and I already have, and so I have to stop that to do this, and somebody's like, why do I do all this? I'll just let them just print it as it is. But then well, maybe, because I did this in previous ones. And
it's very cool to hear that the upcoming Shaolin Cowboy A.I.Live is already complete, and that you're already working on the next one.
It was done last October.
Oh, wow.
Really? Oh, wow. And that's the new printing thing. That's the new deal with, I think they're being printed by random, and they need a thing like almost a year in advance, and to put it out. Now, my editor, Daniel Chabon, told me, I said, you're kidding me. Because I figured when I did it, it'll be out, February, March, and then, it'll be out next September. And September? That's crazy. And he said, it's all, well, the earliest we could get it out would be July. And even July, I was like, Jesus, that was at the time. That's what, 9 months away. But that's just the way it is now. I mean, you used to be able to drop a comic, 2 months in and 2 months before, and they'd come out. Now it's I don't know if you guys have run into that, but I don't know.
Well, yeah, that's one of the appeals of the comic industry is that it has an immediacy that very few other industries have, right?
Yeah. And I feel now it's like I'm working on this other thing. It's like that thing is already old, but it isn't even come out yet. It's perfect.
Yeah, stuff's percolating for months, it feels like at times, right? And you're just waiting for that release.
Yeah. Anyway.
Well,
I don't mean to be
talking about older work, I did want to talk about a lot of your older work. So I wanted to ask about City on Fire.
Yes.
Which, again, we have Bourbon Threat / Shaolin Cowboy showing up in this one. I did want to ask, speaking of like Shaolin Cowboy, Bourbon Threat being like over 40 years old, did you always anticipate that, like way back when you were first starting Bourbon Threat, did you anticipate you'd still be working with this character so late in your career? Like that this is your Tintin, this is your Hellboy?
Not really, because I mean I had done that in France, and I moved back to the United States, and I wasn't sure what I was going to do, and I'd already been told because I showed my work to Marvel, and at that time if it didn't look like Marvel, they weren't going to print it. And I had guys that we'd like your work, but we just wouldn't know what to do with it. It didn't fit into their style, and so I didn't know what I was going to do. But I had met Frank Miller, and through Moebius, and
right on.
And I mean, Moebius, he was so funny because he calls me up. He was living in Santa Monica, and I was in Los Angeles, and he calls me up. Oh, Geof, you want to come over? Frank Miller's going to be here. You want to come over? And I said, sure. So I get over to his house, and his wife's there, but Jean, his real name is Jean Giraud. Jean, he's not there, but Frank is there with Lynn Varley, so I got to spend an hour with them before they showed up. But I didn't break into his house, or pardon me?
Did you just like break into his house, or?
Well, no, because because Jean's wife was there, so she let me in.
Okay.
Jean wasn't, so Frank was waiting, and then so I sat down and we were talking. But even then, because I never, even with Moebius, when I met him, I didn't tell him that I drew because I thought, well, I don't want him to think that I'm trying to. And even with Frank, I never. And then he actually called me when I was back in France, and he called me and he said, Frank said, "See, I didn't know you drew," and da 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 da. And I said, yeah, but I didn't want to.
Well, and then and then you ended up. So actually, with this Daredevil Punisher trade paperback, did you? Yeah. Sorry, you drew this and Frank Miller inked it?
No, I inked it because it was he was busy, and he was working on Elektra Lives, and he had done this drawing. It wasn't a fully finished drawing, at least. And he gave it to me. He said, "You want to ink this?" And I said, "I never inked anybody." I said, "Yeah, well, yeah, but I'm terrified." But I did the thing, and I added all this glass and bullets and all this shit. And I remember when I gave it to him, he just kind of said to me, "Wow, you really made this your own." And it pissed off Marvel because they wanted a Frank Miller cover, and it kind of I don't know. I guess it kind of looks. I don't know.
It still has a very Millery look to me.
But I don't think I didn't get any credit, as I recall.
Outrageous.
Yeah, and it was it's fine. I mean, I didn't even as I look at it now, those glass lines, and the drawing makes no sense to me now when I look at it. All those. I'm so literal with shit, but all those bullets and stuff, and I think the closest thing to Frank's drawing were the kids. I kind of just kept them that way, but I kind of, I don't know.
Well, his pencils were very loose, right?
Well, those were, but I've seen others that he did that weren't, because he was an Elektra. We were going back and forth, and he'd show me stuff, and we'd talk about perspective, and he was very interested in the clear line, or ligne claire. And I think Elektra is the only one. I mean, that's his foray into Lee Nickolej, and at the end of it, he said, "I'll never do it again. It's just too much work."
Really?
Yeah.
And in some ways, I kind of feel like maybe Sin City hadn't been come out, if I hadn't kind of put him through that, I didn't put him through it, but the fact that he tried doing something a little more complicated, a lot more complicated, and for him, after that, that's when he did Sin City, and he started distilling and distilling and distilling even more.
See, that sounds more like what happened is you made him become his true self. So, great job.
I don't know. I think I frightened him. Is basically what happened.
Sometimes the fear is
you can't. You can't. I mean, with a clear line, I guess you can, but it's kind of, you can't hide certain things, and like drawing cars and stuff like that. I mean, if I had any influence on him, really, it was cars, because I showed him, because all these are hard to draw. What you got to do, Frank, is get these like Franklin Mint car models, and because they're really amazing, and you can open the doors on them, you open the hood, and underneath it's not just, you got all the detail of the brakes and the transmission and the drive shaft and all that stuff.
Oh, wow.
It doesn't mean anything. I mean, it's a waste of time, actually. But anyway.
I did want to ask, actually, because all of the vehicles I've seen in the work of yours that I've gone through, even when you're drawing, futuristic stuff, it still has a very distinct look. So that's you're just like taking models and building upon them, or
yeah. I mean, it's like a foundation. I mean,
right.
I just think you see those things as a foundation, and that's all. I mean, and actually, in the next one, they've got some, like, it cracks you up because there's a French car here called a Twingo, and it's kind of a Ford Fiesta in a way. It's like a cheap car. And,
oh yes, it's very small.
And I've got these, these kind of they're vigilante ICE agents. Not that they aren't all vigilantes, but I just like the fact I have some of them are in, I use the trope, they're in pickup trucks and stuff, but I have some of them driving around, and I make a point of pointing out that they're driving their wife's car, which is like a Twingo or some kind of thing like that. Nobody ever noticed that stuff, but I think it's funny.
It is funny. I'm looking forward to that, because that is the sort of thing that would needle them specifically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not that they'd ever. I'm still surprised that I've never gotten any kind of flack.
But they can't read.
Yeah, but I mean, because I don't know. I mean, it's fairly obvious my politics in it. Although people will sometimes, say, "Well, how can we do this?" They go, "Well, I think it's fairly obvious that I'm not really enamored of the current government and the way America's." But anyway,
Yeah,
that's what art's for.
yeah. But I'm not real. I hope I'm not too, like, I never have him stop and look at the camera and say, blah, 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 blah. I just figure a lot of it's inferred, especially in the signage. And there's a lot of that. Because the next one is mostly in the city. And it was a lot of work, because they can't, drawing signs and cars and people on the street.
Yeah, it is interesting that you started off the first several Shaolin Cowboy volumes drawing the desert, and that had to be a huge time saver. And then eventually you move into the city. Did you find that, like, it took twice as long to draw these after that?
Yeah, but I mean, the reason that was because after I did the big guy and Hardboiled, I wanted it. I thought, well, I'll do like a Western, because that when I get to draw that. But then I never got to finish that story that's in the book called Star Trek, but it was going to be in the city, and I was going to get into all that stuff, because I had this whole vision of. I've never really finished that story, because
there we go. Yeah,
I couldn't when I left Burly Man. There were some people that weren't very happy. and they at the time, and they kept the rights to that, which they gave back to me. But so I thought, well, I can't really finish the story that I was going to do. But so when first thing I did for Dark Horse, which was a thing called Shrimp Buffet, it's kind of what would have taken place after.
Well, yeah, you have a 6 years later written here.
Yeah, I just pulled one out of, because for the most part, these things all kind of take place in a matter of days. The 4 books, or the 3 or 4 books.
Yeah, it's like a week or something. I want to say.
Yeah, that much. Yeah, there's a little more time passes in the Cruel to Be Kin, because he gets a job, and I think I show like a moon or a sun rising or something to kind of give the idea that time has passed. But that's about it.
Yeah, this is where he heals himself and then gets a job.
Yeah, he goes to that one not so much, because a little bit, because he just doesn't have the black eye anymore. I guess that's the thing after they put the bomb in the pizza box or something.
Yeah, right there.
Poor family.
Oh, right. So this is the moon and the sun you were talking about. Yeah.
Yeah. Because he's kind of beat up from the last
several volumes.
That's my Will Eisner. That's the only thing I got from Will Eisner. I don't have his finesse, but I always liked that he beat up the spirit. I thought, wow, that's the first time I ever saw a character in a comic book get beat up. And he was always getting shot or blinded, or like, wow.
Man, I never really thought about that. But yeah, you're right. He's always got like a swollen jaw, or
he was always very vulnerable, and I liked that a lot.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think he got rid of his swollen eye, and it was gone for about 5 pages.
Yeah,
and then it comes back.
It got blown up. Yeah. My favorite thing in that whole comic, I'm gonna break my arm, pat myself on the back, is the gun thing.
Yes. I mean, I was gonna.
It was so. I drew that page while I was working on the 4th Matrix movie, and I remember I was sitting in my hotel room drawing that, because I thought, I just thought, this is the goofiest thing. It's so stupid.
Well, especially with the setup and the payoff, because he specifically breaks it.
Yeah, he gets rid of it because they don't want the Komodo dragons don't want the gun. She doesn't want the gun in the house.
And then when it's time for him to get vengeance, he brings it back
into shape.
Just
and it works perfectly. Wow, there you go. So that's what I like. I like goofy stuff, and that's my Sam Raimi Three Stooges influence. Is just like, because I think in comic stuff is also goofy. And I always wait, because people go, that's dumb, that doesn't make any sense. Well, what makes sense in comics? I mean, what makes sense in Superman, really? I mean, you either buy it or you don't buy it.
Yeah, you can do whatever you want. There's no budget limit. There's no the only limit is who's making it, and you can tell when they are very limited.
Yeah.
And I think in comics, it's this space that it's the primary space where that kind of stuff breeds and is allowed, you can do the surreal, you can do the humor, you can blend it all together, and it doesn't have to make sense. It's just an experience, right? It's the expression.
Yeah, exactly.
On the subject of continuing the story from volume to volume, it seems like where is this? I've got so many books here, but it seems like right before Cruel to Be Kin, you had Cruel Stop the Rain, and at the very end, he walks into. He's about to walk into this restaurant, I guess, and we see the lizards.
Yeah, so that's the start of the next one. Yeah.
So you knew exactly what the next volume was going to be. Like every time you end a volume, you know where you're going.
I know he's going to still be in that town, but I had no idea that it was because, I don't plan a lot of these things. I mean, I have an idea, kind of what I want to draw, and that one, my thinking, this makes no sense at all. I always thought that the world's gotten so cruel that people living on the street that die, the people, bums, and or people that are, just people who are living on the street, that they contract out to these Komodo dragons to take care of the bodies. And
Right.
so they're because there's Komodo dragons are scavengers. And so that's why, I don't know, it's all stupid.
So you're more of a gardener writer, not really like planning things out, but just picking things up that you already laid.
And I thought, well, they were gonna, and I had no idea that they were going to be that important in the story, but I had the TV on, and they had a thing about Komodo dragons and how the mother stays with the eggs because the male will come and eat the babies. And so it's in an odd way, it's a thing about parenting. And so I thought, and I thought, well, I can do a flashback and I can get him out of the city and I can get him back in the desert and I can draw something really fast. And so I got him out there, as you see in that whole thing. And then I thought, well, this isn't very interesting. So what if there was on my daughter's bedroom, bathroom door in her bedroom, she always had these pictures of these jellyfish, which I always thought was really neat. And I thought, well, what if there's a giant jellyfish in the desert, which once again is so stupid. It makes no sense at all. So
that's what's great about it. It just comes out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And this little prince piloting it. It's so strange.
Another little weird, the guy with the little sort of, I mean, it's not a Hitler mustache. I used to see, and there used to be like Japanese businessman that had those kind of little mustaches.
I believe when it's not Nazi adjacent, it's called a chaplain.
Oh yeah, there you go. Yeah, It's I just thought, I don't know. Maybe I was watching too much Adventure Time, which is why he's kind of strange.
I don't know that there's too much of that, but
yeah, you can never have too much Adventure Time. Yeah, it was fantastic.
But it's kind of cool to see a jellyfish in the desert, because if you think of the desert, right, it was once underwater, and it was a world that harbored that life for a long time.
Yes,
so it's kind of
that's
cool
exactly
to
what
see.
I was thinking.
See, folks, he's a genius.
You guys are way smarter than I am. I think, really? Oh yeah, I said that. Somebody saying, is this an epiphany about? I go, oh yeah, that's it. That's exactly what I was thinking.
Concerning your evolution as a storyteller, I did notice with this most recently released volume, Cruel to Be King, which came out a couple of years ago, you started doing a lot more smaller panels. And smaller panels were always in your older work, but it just seems so much more prevalent in this one. A lot of like micro moments in action scenes. What was the thinking behind that, like, evolution?
Well, one, smaller panels, I can draw them faster. And I thought too, and I watch a lot of movies, and I watch a lot of, I think of Japanese films and Chinese films and Sergio Leone, and just close-ups of, like just eyes, faces. And I didn't want to take, a lot of time to, and I like that. I think that a small panel like that also, it's fast. So generally it's to indicate some quick, at least in my head. I don't know if I succeed, but
no, definitely.
I think so. Yeah, you're because the smaller panels change the whole page layout, so the rhythm becomes much more frenetic, I guess is the term.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, he just like.
It's a lot different than this, right?
Yeah. Rather than waiting or drawing moments out, you're just hitting them.
All of Hardboiled was for me trying to impress Frank and make him feel like he made a mistake working with me. I mean, but I look back at it and I go, what was I thinking? My favorite cover is that one with the car.
That image hit me like a bolt of lightning.
And that was Dark Horse had a great idea to put the car going around the back. And but if you notice the name of the car, it's a Jesus Chrysler. And, and at the time, my editor Randy Stradley said, we're kind of worried about that Jesus Chrysler thing because down south you get evangelistic people that might object to it. And I said, no, we got to keep it. It's a great gag. It's not that good. I go, well, I thought it was pretty good. I don't know.
And
Okay.
nobody noticed.
you
It's like
have
on
to
the back
keep it.
cover.
I know no one's ever. But the funny thing about Hardboiled is if you go to the third cover, with the hole in the head, Frank put this piece of. That's the only one that has a word balloon on it. It says, "Sorry, I'm late." And I had no idea I just thought it was just him, like, oh, he was the character. Nixon was late to meet some guy, and I remember it was like almost a year later. I'm visiting my parents in Iowa, and I'm in a grocery store with him, and all of a sudden it struck me. I don't know why. I go, wait a minute. He's making fun of me. That joke was at my expense because it had been a year since the second issue had come out. Like, oh, Frank, you bastard. So, like I say, I'm very dense. There you go.
No.
And
No, not at all.
That's me. That's me. Actually,
That's your face.
that's my head. Yeah.
Wow.
I did want to ask about your collaboration with Frank Miller, because I mean it's very well known that you went a little off the reservation from the original script or outline.
Yeah.
I want to know what was the original story? Like, what was the original script or outline?
It was, gosh, I still have it here. I can see it from here. It was in a red. If you got a second, I'm going to walk over there.
We got all the time you need.
I'm gonna walk through my. Oh, there's my wife at the door. I'm on the phone. It's okay. I'm with. Big Bite Cat wants to come in. Where is this thing? God, oh, here it is. Oh, here's my cat.
Wow, can we get a studio tour? This would be amazing.
Wow.
Oh my
This is the
god.
kind of content you can only get here on Inkscribes.
Wow. Oh, say hello to the people.
Hello, giant cat.
Oh, your cat comes with fur.
It's a Maine Coon cat.
So it is giant.
Oh,
He's
giant.
big. So here's the
Oh, wow.
script, the original script.
Oh,
Jeez,
Jesus.
I when I see that, I just wonder, like, what would that go up for auction? Like, if you were
Chapter
to
1.
send that to Heritage Auctions or whatever, like.
Let me see if I can get where the first page is.
Oh wow.
Okay. Script for page 1 through 16. Let's see. I always wanted them to print this, but I don't think he wanted to.
I'd be curious, was there more dialogue in the original script? Because the book itself is kind of a little lean on the dialogue. It's mostly driven through your visual storytelling.
Well, here's I'll write page 2 and 3. Looking past Nixon down the alleyway as a customized Rolls Royce charges towards Nixon, firing machine guns mounted on the sides. It's huge. Nixon aims his pistol, doesn't yet fire. 6 bodies scattered in the alleyway. Another, and so that's right. And the caption, right on me, the bastard. Another caption, 3 shots left in Agnes, which was my mother's name. So we named the gun after my mom. So, and I, and I did that thing that I did. And then after that, I think the car crashes into him. But
this definitely was not written in that script, right?
oh no. And they don't. Yeah, I had that whole thing because where he crashes through the wall, and there's that whole that sort of there's a sex marathon thing going on, and none of that was in the script. And at the time, he didn't tell me, but he told me later. He goes, "It was just I didn't know what to do, because you had drawn this, and then the fact that I showed him so beat up and so damaged. He was supposed to be human."
Oh.
With cyborg parts. And, but he couldn't wrap his head around that he would survive. Because I've been watching these John Woo movies.
Right.
And in John Woo movies, guys, like, especially the second one, The Better Tomorrow 2, they get like shot about, I don't know, 100 times, it seems like. But they didn't get shot in the head. So I was like, that's my rule. If they don't get a bullet in the head, they don't die. And so I
they take a bunch of punishment in those. Yeah.
Yeah. And so that was my, that was my inspiration. A lot of people said, well, it's like Blade Runner. My inspiration wasn't Blade Runner. It was John Woo, actually. John Woo and Moebius is A Better Tomorrow, or Long Tomorrow. Okay. Yeah. Oh, I just realized that's 2 tomorrow stories. Better. Because John Woo will be A Better Tomorrow.
So how are you watching a lot of those foreign films? I believe the Hong Kong release was happening in the early 90s, but in America.
In the late 80s, they were showing them, because I'd seen A Better Tomorrow before I started Hardboiled, so that would have been like 1987 or 88.
So they're coming to like local indie theaters?
Well, I was living in Paris at the time, so I think I saw them on videotape. I had videotape.
Oh.
And the funny thing about it, I'm gonna jump around, but I'm a big fan of John Woo and Sam Raimi, and I had Frank. I moved back to LA after this. I was in LA, and that's when I had something. It's long. It's making no sense because I'm back and forth between Los Angeles and Paris, and Frank had met Sam Raimi, and he was going to be invited to a party. Sam Raimi invited me to a party. Do you want to come? I go, yeah. And of course, Frank, he really, I think he's very shy, and he would like at the last minute, he goes, I decided not to go, and I was so disappointed.
Oh.
And about, I don't know how many, I'd drawn Hardboiled, and I was still in Los Angeles, and I went into this Circuit City, which used to be a place that like Best Buy, or I don't know if that still exists or if that's up in Canada, but I go into this place, and I'm in there, and here's Sam Raimi. And he knew me because, and he said, "Oh, I'm having a party. Would you like to come to the party?" And I said, "Yeah." Because we're starting this movie with John Woo, and John Woo's going to be there. And I was like, "Yeah."
Yes.
So my wife and I get to go to his producer Robert Tappert's house where they're having the party, and Sam Raimi's there. Bruce Campbell comes by, and John Woo. And John Woo was in town. And he had seen Hardboiled, and he had just done this movie Hardboiled, and he told me that he had made a movie, and I didn't know it was called Hardboiled. And he said, "I'm screening it at Universal. I'd like to invite you to this screening." So,
oh man,
so for this John Woo, and he was such a nice guy, and there was only about 10 of us in the theater, and he was at the door, and he greeted us as he came in. And my wife is French, and he really loves France, so he really liked my wife. And we went in, we watched the thing, and we come out. He's waiting to thank us all, and we left. I thought that was such a classy guy.
That is, yeah.
Certainly, it's a long-winded story.
I love
when you meet John Woo, do you stop yourself from being sort of a fanboy? Do you hold yourself back, or do you just unload and ask him fanboyish questions?
Yeah, I was afraid to come off, because I'm an idiot. But he knew who I was, and he asked me this really embarrassing question because I was really annoyed with Dark Horse when they printed the third issue of Hardboiled. It's really dark. They printed it too dark, And John Woo asked me, "Did you want it to be printed that dark?" I go, "No." Even he noticed. I go, "No, I was just, it wasn't supposed to be like that." But he was. I remember he was there with his wife and their kids, and there's this big insect that was on the ceiling. I think it was a Dobson fly, and they were all kind of like terrified. And I just kind of reached up and grabbed it by the wings, and I pulled it down.
Are
And,
these the practice
I let
versions?
the kids look at it, and they were like, I was like a lion tamer. The fact that I was the only one that would go near this insect. And I said, "Oh, they're harmless," and I showed it to him, and I think he was impressed by my bug wrangling. So.
I just looked up what a Dobson fly is, and yeah, me too, man. That thing is enormous. Yeah.
So yeah, I guess
I took it and I let it outside. And the funny thing is, Sam Raimi was there. He's there, and he's off in this room. And his producer Rob Tapper, he says, "Geez," he goes, "Look at it." I said, "What's in there?" And he's in there, and he's playing around with, and he had edited together his favorite Three Stooges clips. And that's what he was looking at. He was checking the editing on it. And Rob Trevor's like, he could be making a movie. What's he doing at this time? He's
like my father.
Splicing together his favorite Three Stooges moments.
and shortly after that, he made The Quick and the Dead, right?
Yes.
Which has a famous shot.
When I went to that party, I brought him and Robert Tabbert, his producer, the front and back cover as a gift.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So a year later or so, he does the Western, and that comes out. And I thought that shot was going to be in there because it's to me it's a Sam Raimi shot.
Oh yeah.
And he got some grief for it because he was on Fresh Air with Terry Gross, if you know that show.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It was right after quitting. He said, she was talking about making the movie. And she goes, "There's one particular shot in that movie. There's really, really interesting and different. And I can remember the words exactly. And, how did you come up? It's the shot with the hole in the head." And he doesn't give me credit. Yeah. But people called him on it. I mean, the Wachowskis, when I was working on The Matrix, they were going over to see him, and they wore the graffiti had been a T-shirt of it, and they wore that T-shirt to meet Sam Raimi.
Right on.
And they go, "Huh, Sam? Huh? What about this? What about this?" They told me, he said, "Oh, I wish I'd never done that. That's given me so much grief." But I was flattered because I love Sam Raimi. I mean, obviously, with the chainsaw thing that I did that's because of Sam Raimi.
Of course, yeah. And he cultivated a specific style, so I don't know that he gets to really complain about taking from those that he inspired himself.
Well, he said that that when someone called him on it, I remember who was talking to him, and he said, I think it was Frank Miller, because they're talking. He said, "Well, everybody's stolen from me. I just thought I'd steal from somebody else."
Oh, Sam.
Well, I mean, that's a joke. That was a joke.
But you could argue that this cover is loosely inspired by Sam Raimi, right? So it's sort of like a.
Oh no, it was. I mean, actually, it's
like an Ouroboros.
Dick Tracy. Well, it was Little Abner. I don't know if you ever knew who Little Abner was. Comic strip.
Yeah.
He did this parody in there every once in a while of this detective who was a parody of Dick Tracy called Fearless Fosdick. And when he would shoot people, they'd have those cartoon holes in their body, like you could, and he'd have people with holes in their heads, and that was my inspiration.
That's very cool that you can pull from that far back.
Well, it's like there's a whole animation thing where when I was working, they'd say, "Well, if you have an animation, you push it as far as you can. And once you think you've pushed it as far as you can, you push it a little more." So that always kind of stuck with me. That and a piece of advice from Joe Barbera, which affected me more than I thought at the time.
I mean, just looking at this car crash, yeah.
Well, when we were in, when I was working there, I was working on some. They were trying to do some kind of because the Japanese robots were starting to hit, and they were like trying to do their version of it. And I worked on this thing called Totem Man, and it was going to be like totem poles that would, turn into. And it was really bad. And the only reason I was there was because they said, there's this guy in the model department and I knew all about those Japanese robots. So he had me bring in some of my Bandai robots and showed them how they worked, how they came apart and stuff. Alex Toth was there.
Right on.
But at any rate, he said, well, he started talking to us, well, people are asking me about, how you write comedy and how you write a script. And he said, it's like this. So you got an airplane, people on an airplane. It's not funny. But if you put a bear on that plane, something funny's gonna happen. And that was it. And I was like, at the time I was like, Jesus Christ. And I realized I've been putting a bear on a plane ever since, because I now I understand what he was talking about. But
yeah, just there are certain things that are just formative for you as an artist. That I guess when you look back on, you don't realize how much it affected you.
Yeah, kind of.
I did want to ask you about sort of your process. I find it is very fun to do something like this, where it's, you get to make it up on the page as you go, but then when you turn the page, you have to draw it from another angle, and you have to sort of replicate what was. It was fun the first time, but the second time is kind of painful because you have to sort of like go back and reference and make everything correct. I did compare these two, and I've done it on various other works as well, and you are very good at keeping the continuity.
Well, kind of. I'm getting lazier and lazier, but in those days, I was very, but it comes from animation, because I worked at Hanna-Barbera doing models, and you had to be able to turn things, and they had to be consistent, and that's where it would come from. I know. Yeah.
The thing is, like, most people aren't really like
it doesn't matter.
Yeah. It's only because of this show that I put the magnifying glass on and went like, oh my God, I didn't realize how, like, he's paying attention to making sure that this body is still accurate to that body on the previous page, still posed the same way, but from a different angle, and every other body as well.
It's amazing. The fact that because I thought people were going to call me on it, seriously. I thought they're going, on page 2, there's a guy who's leaning up against the bar, and now all of a sudden he's sitting on a seat and blah blah blah. One of my hardest things is if I got a guy in a room, is getting him out of the room. Oh my God, because I feel like I got to show him going out of the room.
Yeah,
well, you can just jump to the other thing, but I think now they're gonna go, "Whoa, he got lazy. You should have seen him coming out the door."
Yeah,
that is something in my own work that I've often struggled with when it comes to Scorpio Gold and Luke Zenith. It's is the planning of these sorts of complicated spaces. Like, are you designing on the page, or are you pre-planning the geography of these scenes?
I do the main scene, and then I just try to keep it consistent from there.
Okay.
I and a lot of it, I don't know what the action is going to be generally. I kind of make it up as well, then I can do this, and it comes from watching those, especially the Jackie Chan and the John Woo films, and Yuen Woo Ping, the master choreographer.
Yes.
And I actually worked on a video game that never got made with Jet Li. And I went to his house, and we're talking, and I asked him, and I said, can I ask you, when you guys are doing those scenes, do you know what's going to go on before you get in that room, or do you go into the room and look around and see what you got and then go from there? Because that's what I do. And he said, we wait till we get in the room. We go, oh, we got this is over here in the corner, and this and that, da, da, da. And then they choreograph from there.
Very cool.
Okay, good. Because that makes me feel better. Oh.
That guy, I was taking pictures of him for this thing, so I had reference for him, and I'd have him do a pose, and I realized, I thought he'd just kind of like, just do this, whatever. If you think just, but he couldn't. He would have to do the whole movement to get to there.
Get into it.
It was really amazing. Yeah.
He's got specific motor plans.
Well, it's the whole. It's not just a fake Hollywood kung fu pose. For him, it's the martial art, and to do it correctly, you have to start from A to get to Z, and not just go to Z.
Right.
Yeah, anyway.
Which, that makes sense. My wife is a occupational therapist, and she talks about motor planning a lot, and it makes sense that he would have to execute that plan. He doesn't think about it consciously, so how could he just end up in it?
Like me, if you told me to make a kung fu pose, I'd do that.
It's like making it up.
He would just do the whole thing, and
That's very cool.
Yeah, he's a cool guy.
Going back to like your earliest work, I did want to comment on the. You're very influenced by Jacques Tati, and there's a reference here to Monsieur Hulot.
I'd seen some Monsieur Hulot movies, and he's an amazing filmmaker, and his visuals and his attention to detail is just. I took some friends to see it, and God, they hated him. I mean, some people really hate that stuff because it's. I don't know. I think it's very intellectual what he does, and his insight into human behavior and such.
Oh yeah, all the background stuff. I checked out parts of Playtime in reference for this, and just the tight choreography of the things that are going on. Nothing's out of place or not. Yeah. You see things in the background of stuff like there's a traffic circle.
That thing, yeah.
And somebody's pulling a boat, and it's like. That's not out of place, but I wouldn't expect it to be somebody to be pulling a boat, but it could happen.
Yeah. But that thing was, I'd seen him and I just wanted to put him in there because I thought, well, he would show up. He'd show up or something, I don't know, my money.
Well, I mean, it seems like Jacques Tati's observation about human behavior and fascination with bystanders and how everybody's acting. It seems like it's in your work, in every background, just like this fascination with people.
Yeah, but for me, it also comes from Giraud, Moebius, because he always had things going on in the background, and so you felt like you were in a world that he created, like. If that makes any sense. Like, oh, there you go. Yeah.
So for City on Fire, you worked with Moebius.
I drew those things, and then he inked them on a light box, and so it's my pencil drawings still exist, and the inks were separate. And we're going to eventually, it's going to be reprinted, and for the first time, they're going to print the pencil drawing.
Oh, I was going to ask about that.
Yes.
I was so afraid to let people see what they thought. Because once they saw him, they go, oh, Jesus, Darrow, he sucks. And because that's pure Moebius. I mean, I give him a lump of coal, and he turns it into a diamond. But, I mean, if you look close, Bourbon Threat's in that thing twice, that little thing in there.
Okay, so he's in this one.
And that one I drew. That's the only full drawing that's by me. The one with the turtle. There's this because we each did half. He did his half, and then I did my half in response to his. And you can
really the starkness, the stark difference between the two is
yes. One is elegant sophistication. The other is Neanderthal chaos.
I mean, I know we're both getting something out of both. Honestly,
but I kind of thought, well, you gotta give this guy credit. He looks like he at least made an effort. I didn't phone it in.
Yeah, like the amount of work that you're putting into each scene, it always feels like there's absolutely no quit in you. You're not getting to a point where you go, this is good enough. It's not that it's good enough. It's that this is what it is.
I just always felt that I'm not very competent. And I go, but at least, like I said, it'll look like I made an effort.
I'm curious though where you get your endurance from, because most comic artists would shy away from that amount of detail. I mean, when we were just
but it's also a question of time as well. I mean, I always feel guilty. Go, well, I couldn't do that. Yeah, because I'm not producing a monthly comic. I mean, but I started in Europe, and so over here, like Moebius was almost by French European standards, Jack Kirby, because he had produced maybe 2 books, maybe 3 a year.
Oh, yes, that is a lot.
And generally, but I mean, a lot of those comics would come out once a year, and that's why when Frank did Hardboiled, I never thought I was late, and I told Frank, I've never considered myself late. I'm working on a European thing, and at the end of Hardboiled, I mean, it's not the ending I wanted to do. And he said, Geof, you just got to finish this. And so, I don't know if you remember, there's a scene where the robot girl's walking down the corridor. Mm-hmm. I was going to cut between that and action of him, but I was going to show him killing everybody that's in that building. And instead I just cut to like the aftermath. Mm-hmm. I felt very frustrated because I've been building up to that, and that page right before that, the thing with all that.
Which I don't know. I think there is something to that of just a hard cut to. Of course, you're seeing it differently. Like what
I wanted to draw him. I wanted to doing that because I'm such an idiot child that I finally kind of did it with that comic, the Shemp buffet, where I had him fighting all the zombies. I thought, now I'm gonna
or for an entire volume, which is
which people
just
gave me some grief on. I didn't care. I was gonna do it. It was gonna be even longer. Because I kept thinking people are going to get pissed off at some point, and I thought that's why I have him stop at one point. And that for me, I was thinking that's the audience reaction when he stops and he's breathing heavy, and then it starts again. Because that whole thing, thing was going to be that with all the the long sort of CinemaScope panels, that was all supposed to be in one issue. And Dark Horse broke it up.
This entire.
Wow.
And that's the way I wanted it to be read. So when people were annoyed because they said they got the one issue and then they get the next issue came and it was just the same thing happening again.
Well, those are Philistines. You're talking about Philistines.
Yeah.
But and then after people, it's the same drawing. He's just doing the same drawing over and over.
It's not at all the same drawing.
It's so brilliantly choreographed.
I don't know about that. But
in this modern,
I'd like that comic.
In this modern world, though, there is. I can see why people would think that, just because there's so many digital tools, and I can hear our audience getting frustrated with us already. What are Geof's tools? Tell us how he makes. Like, what size are you producing at, and what are your basic tools? I guess pencil. Pen.
Well, I think that I would have probably been doing those kind of the old Marvel style, kind of twice up, generally.
Okay.
So there. Let's see. I don't know if I got a page here somewhere. I will show you something here. I don't know if you'll be able to see it.
Are we going to get a preview of the next Shaolin Cowboy?
Right. Yes.
Which will come out, in 2029?
28, maybe?
There we go.
Oh, wow.
That's a simple one, but it's so they're they're pretty big.
So that's
Yeah.
larger
but
than
hardboiled was
17
bigger
by
than that.
11.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, I work in centimeters. So.
Yes.
32.
En français.
Yeah, 32.5 by 48.5, whatever that would be in inches. But so yeah, so I draw. See, that's the pencil page.
Oh yeah, that's like 19 by 13. Wow, that's cool.
And so I draw on, and then I ink it on, because that's like a matte paper, or what they call it, maybe vellum. Let me see now.
Okay, yeah.
It's very flimsy.
And then on a light box, I ink it because I draw really, really hard.
Heavy hand.
The graphite, yeah, and the ink is just weird. Looks like it doesn't. It's almost like engraved in the paper, the pencil.
I know how that goes. Yeah.
So I can't. It's like if I do it on the one, the black isn't black, and it kind of. I can't change the line because it's almost like it's in a trench. It's like jumping out of a trench.
Right.
So I just have to follow that track that I've engraved into the paper. So I'll ink it on another sheet of a plate Strathmore.
Oh, okay.
So you have 2 pieces of original art for every page.
Yeah. And I've toyed often with just printing the pencils and not, because by the time I have to ink it, like this last one, the one that's coming out, just about killed me because it was. It's a lot of machines in it, and it got really
known for.
Yeah, it's just after a while, it's just so. Because I don't know if you want to know, but he fights an army of vending machines.
Yes.
Oh my god, that sounds amazing.
And it's just, it almost broke me because it's just. And then there's the cars and there's the city in the background and each one of these. I built a model of one of these vending machines so I can kind of keep it consistent.
Wow. That's such dedication. Everybody watching this, make sure you pick up A.I.Live. Yeah, A.I.Live.
It's staying. Actually, it's because the last one was
Staying
had musical skills, and so I thought, what can I have with AI? And this was before the whole AI thing had started. And I thought, well, how can I go? Oh, staying alive. Oh, I don't. But then will kids even get the reference? But maybe you don't get the reference. But
no, of course. John Travolta.
I just thought it was funny, so I picked that.
That's the sort of thing that kids these days need. They don't grow up with a monoculture, so they need to be exposed to new, to older ideas because they haven't received them.
So you're doing a service.
Yeah. You're welcome.
It's more likely. But, so that one, how I start off, and then I use Micron Pigma pens.
Okay. How long have you been using like tech pens?
Probably it started like 1990 or something on that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Well, I know how I discovered them. I used to use these other pens, like at first the French stuff. I was inking with whatever kind of marker pens, not flares, because. Do you know what flares are? Do you know
I've not heard of them before. No.
Flares were like the first marker pens.
I think Toth used those, right?
Oh, the papermate flares.
And Gil Kane, and Gil Kane used them a lot. And I have some Gil Kane originals, and that stuff, if you put it to light, the black it'll turn brown.
Oh,
yeah. Right. You see that in a lot of Toth original art that has survived today.
Yeah. It's. But then I found microns. I don't know how I found them. Maybe I went to Japan and I happened to buy some. And so I've been using those since like most of Hardboiled was inked with micron. Yeah.
I was going to ask how much, like, what percentage of your original art have you parted with? Do you think? Do you keep most of it?
I've sold most of the covers, but I have all of the Shaolin Cowboy.
Yes.
Oh, there's a flare pen.
I have,
Okay.
I
So-
have
It's
mo-
good, but
most.
it's-
I mean, the hard-boiled. I don't have any of it. I have some of the pencil pages because I was selling them off. This is a long story. I mean, I used to draw each panel on a separate sheet of paper, and then I'd have to cobble them together. So
Whoa!
I was selling the panels at convention, and Mike Mignola always kind of laughed because one time I came, I couldn't fit them into a portfolio. It was at San Diego, so I had them in a hefty bag. And so Geof Darrow shows up, and he opens up. You open up your hefty bag, and you drop that stuff out of the garbage bag. And so every once in a while, someone will come up to me with one of those panels that are like maybe 4 by 5 inches or something, and some a little more. And I haven't seen that drawing, but the pages, like some of them I gave them away. The Wachowskis bought some of the best ones, and Frank, I think I gave Frank used to have, I don't know what he did with it, but he had one of them. And the big guy I sold. I still have all the pencils. I kept all the pencils from the big guy, but the originals I sold.
So is it
But
that
then I
you don't want to part with them at all, or?
Yeah, I don't know, because I went to Walt Simonson's house and he's got everything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And even Stan Sakai, the same thing. I thought, well, maybe I should, because I thought, well, they'll probably never. I mean, I'm doing this goofy comic. Nobody wants a comic about a kind of a dumpy martial artist, and that they've probably never pay me what I wanted for it, and so I have them all. But I might. I've been talked into doing a show in New York, and maybe I'll sell some of them. So.
Scott
so
W., if you're watching, make sure to get in touch with this man so we can preserve these pencils in hardcover form.
Well, the pencils I will hold on to, but the inks I might.
Right on.
But I'm not going to sell all of them. I'm not going to. I think there's just maybe one book that maybe I'll let them take. Well, we'll see. It's hard. It is hard to let go of. I don't know about how you guys are with this stuff, but I don't. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's a debate I've been having. Especially when you hear about like Walt Simonson or whatever, and is it the kind of thing that like I would regret later on? Yeah, I don't know.
But even I talk with, because I don't know how much of it my daughter would want, and because it's just a lot of stuff, and you can't display it all. I mean, not that I don't have a single. I don't have any. But you guys, I don't have any of my art on the wall. I can't look at it. So, I have I have a City of Fire thing in my house, but that's about the only thing. Not mine. The one that John did, just because it's him. For me, it's always.
Yeah. That makes total sense. Anything Moebius that's going up on the.
It was his birthday yesterday. It would have been, I don't know how old.
Rest in power, Moebius.
Why was there 2 different colored versions of?
Oh, this is I'm in France, right? And so he had moved to Tahiti. He was living in Tahiti, and that's where he started inking these things. And the one on the right, they sent in and they told him, "Oh, we don't like this. You're gonna have to do it over." And I was like, "Brrr." I go, "You're gonna tell Moebius to do something over?" No, that's what I call balls. Wow. And I mean, I do think the I like them both, but the one on the left was the one that they picked, and it is, I think, has a little more power to it.
There's certainly more focus.
The one on the right was never printed in France. That was only in the American edition. Yeah.
So, are you saying that we will get this in printed form somehow?
Well, yeah, I'm working with his widow, and we're going to do a Dark Horse. We'll see what happens. Now that Dark Horse has changed, I don't know what's going to happen.
Right.
Well, I know the people want access to this, so there is a hungry audience.
And I have all these tiny little drawings that he gave me to, a couple.
Would your hope for it to be in like a book, or?
It was going to be a book. Yeah, we're going to do it as a book.
Yeah, that would be amazing.
Yeah.
But there's there's one in there that had nothing to do with it, and that's the one that's a painting. It's just this still of a city, because this was all based on this movie that he was working on.
That never got made, unfortunately.
No, they did like a 2-minute little clip, and it's a really weird clip because I'm thinking you could put all your money into this clip, and it was like the most boring thing of all the drawings. And it was this guy, and he's in a chair, and his hair grows out, and someone goes, then they cut to a guy going, amazing. I go, well, it's amazing that's the thing you picked to animate, because
That is strange, yes.
you did it, yeah. I mean, you get especially if you get some producer who's bald, he's like, well, are you making fun of bald people? I'm not fond of this thing. But no, it never got made. He was part of a sect, and it was this crazy sect that, and it was going to be, I was supposed to do a comic strip. It was going to be a comic strip. And then this group that he was a part of, they had control over this kind of story. And he said, Geof, I don't want to put my handcuffs on you. And so we just did something that was totally different, but kind of, it started out as it was going to be that, but it wasn't. And it was just a bunch of drawings, because he said, well, but the editor at the time said, why don't, Geof, you do these drawings, and then Jean will ink them and color them. And that's how it came about.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Put me on the map. I always say, I owe my career to Moebius, and then Moebius led to Frank Miller, and then Frank Miller, the stuff I did led to my working on the Matrix. So, but it all started with Moebius. But I always managed to hook up with. I felt like I'm like a remora. I'd attach myself to these beautiful, incredible sharks, and
that's my strategy as well. Yes.
I did want to ask you about. Where is this? There was this. You showed up in this Pilote in Charlie magazine.
Yeah, it was censored.
It was. I think this was the only spread.
That's it. It was censored. Yeah.
Oh, what was censored?
Because the character was saying, you know who Jean-Marie Le Pen is?
Yes. She's the fascist.
Fascist. And he was saying, the character was saying, it was a big mistake to accept the dinner invitation from Jean-Marie Le Pen. And that was actually drawing a pitch for a comic I was going to do. And I just kind of, added that onto it. And they took it out because they were afraid that, because Le Pen was so powerful at the time, they were afraid of, which is kind of funny thinking that Charlie, after what happened.
Charlie censoring, that's a thing.
That's disappointing to hear. Yeah.
But that was way before, that it changed. Charlie changed quite a bit. And then that was like this magazine, and it was Pilote was a really popular comic, weekly I think, weekly comic that, and then it wasn't doing well, so they kind of mixed it with Charlie, but because Pilote is where you found Asterix, and you had Lieutenant Blueberry by Giraud, all the really popular things were in there. And then people got tired of buying the thing weekly. Like, well, I'll just wait for the book to come out.
Okay, so.
And that was the end of Pilote, and there was Spirou was another one, and I think Tintin, is he? The color in my comic, that one, in fact, that color there, and the color that was in that book that just got printed, the first story and part of the second one was done by Hergé's niece, and it was done at Studio Hergé.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah.
Oh, so you're talking about this story?
That's all Studio Hergé.
Wow. It does have a very Tintin feel.
Yeah. Okay, well,
that's the color I liked, and I was like, oh. Yeah, she agreed to do it.
Punchy.
So I had a question about this because this story was originally printed in France in like 1984, I believe, and it's only been reprinted now this year in the States. Yeah. But it did show up in the 15-year anniversary
Yeah.
issue of Heavy Metal,
Well,
but it was
no, 'cause
recolored.
It was printed. Yeah, it was recolored. Yeah.
So what's the story behind that?
That came out before the Studio Roger version. So because that was printed, I don't know. It was, yeah, that's why.
Oh, this
Because
was this is 1992 though.
No. It wasn't 92. That might be the
Oh,
anniversary.
this
thing,
is the reprint, I guess.
This
Sorry.
is a reprint. Yeah, that's why. Yeah.
Oh, okay, so it originally appeared in Heavy Metal then. I just don't know what issue.
No, well, it originally appeared first in Metal Hurlant, and then almost a couple years later, it showed up in Heavy Metal. And
so it was in this Metal Hurlant issue.
And it hadn't been colored yet. I mean,
okay.
Because but Metal Hurlant was mostly black and white.
Yeah.
There you go.
I just I'm fascinated by this because it seems like whoever colored this was coloring every figure and then eventually reached a point where they gave up. And then
it was my girlfriend at the time, and we'd broken up, but she kind of broke her heart that they wouldn't use her color because the French weren't thrilled with it, and
that's too bad. But we're seeing it now. Yeah. That's awesome.
I have too many books here. Okay. So let me see. So I don't have the original Darrow comics and stories, but it was reprinted by Delcourt like 10 years later in like 1996. And so I guess, this was the. It's so weird to see it so like up close, where it's been cut up.
Oh, yeah. I remember Archie Goodwin. I showed him this thing, and he was like, "It's it's a lot of cosmic gobbledygook." No. Just a second, my cat is going to try and jump up.
Yeah, no problem.
I got two of them. Yeah, and I think I said to him, I said, "Well, what's the difference between this and I said because I think he's going to kill somebody because the church has outlawed certain recipes. It's all crazy bullshit stuff. But I thought, well, it's kind of like, the cosmic cube. It doesn't make any sense either. I mean, it's just. But people have different, levels of. And it was pretty goofy. What do I know? Archie Goodwin. What do I know? Archie is a great guy.
Yeah, nicest man in comics. But
this directly ties into the next comic.
Oh, interesting.
Because if you go forward a little bit, and keep going, and keep going.
This accordion.
There you go.
Super fun. Yes.
Okay.
That is what I was thinking. I was like,
if you turn the page, you see him even more. But he comes back.
He comes back. That's great.
And people can buy it in this version that just came out.
Yeah, it's in there.
And it seems like you re-scripted it for the modern version because there are modern references in this story.
Maybe because I know it had never been translated into English, and I just went in and added stuff because
I think there were references to Kanye's, and there was an RFK
probably
reference in there as well.
I believe that's called localization. It's not just a straight translation. It's making it.
That machine. If you go back, he's got a name, and he's because I was in France, and the big French writer is Émile Zola. But the name of this vending machine is Emil Cola.
That's great.
Because at the time I was doing this, there was like Pepsi and Coke were having, they call them they're fighting back and forth for superiority, and
the Cola Wars.
And I was calling it the Cola Wars, and that gets referenced in there.
Yeah. That was the height of.
And I never got to finish the story either because they went bankrupt.
Oh, well,
yeah, it's just sort of like
it just sort of drifts off. And for the longest time, I thought I'm never going to ever finish anything. because people keep going bankrupt on me. But I got Hardboiled, and then I got the big guy. Then I was back. The curse was back with Shaolin Cowboy for a little bit, but then I got the rights back.
Are you ever going to go back to that first volume and continue that story? Or
Yeah,
is that just left
it
in the
was
past?
so. I'm terrified by it because it was really complicated.
Because you kind of left the donkey behind. Like the donkey was
Yeah, there's a whole
supporting cast
whole
member.
story with him, and there's a reason he's not there. And I was gonna explain it. I mean, he might come back, but not. I don't want to tell you what it is, but
No,
he might.
we weren't stressed.
But because if in it he ends up with that baby or that monkey or that baby that turns into a monkey.
Yes.
And there's a reason for that too. That is because it's sort of I'd read The Monkey King.
Oh, okay.
And I thought instead of being trapped under, I don't know if you know the story, but because he causes chaos in the heavens, and they trap him under a mountain so he will learn to be more modest and this and that, and they drop like a mountain on him. But I thought, well, instead they trap him instead of a human body, which would be even worse trap than being under a mountain. Because it'd be like he'd be like, wow, you'd be degenerated.
Yeah.
So and the monkey and the mule have a story, but together. But I never got to finish it. I have a couple pages of it, but
yeah, because shortly after this came out, you went to work on the anime, right?
No. I started, that came about because they'd done the Animatrix, and it was huge in Japan, and that Studio Madhouse that had done Ninja Scrolls, we've seen that, and a few other, and they wanted to do another animated film and they wanted to work with the Wachowskis, and the Wachowskis had started, the Burly Man comics, and they thought that Shaolin would be a good fit for an animated film, and that's when I went to work on that.
Very cool.
Shaolin Cowboy in the Tomb of Doom.
Yep, several years of my life for nothing.
I'm just noticing that it is
But I made friends.
PM in France. Do we need to wrap this up soon?
What time is it there?
For us, it's 11 in the morning.
11 plus 6.
Yeah, we could go on longer, but we're just concerned about you.
Yeah.
Not sure what time it is here.
The internet says it's 7 p.m.
Yeah, I should get going. I should probably get going, and maybe another 10 minutes or something.
Okay.
If you got some questions, then I'll try to answer them without.
Oh man, I have 1,000 questions. I mean, I would love to do this again.
There were things that I wish I remembered because when I listened to because I was really impressed with how you actually read that comic. And wow, I really looked at it. And I think, well, no, this isn't, but I can't remember what they were.
Oh, I mean, we were scrutinizing the colors, and we had differing opinions, and there was a lot there.
The whole hard-boiled thing. I mean, that the reason that the blood was black was because I think maybe you mentioned this. The colorist was pregnant, and it was making her ill, and so
right.
And so I said okay. So I made it black because I'd seen Akira, and there's a lot of black blood in Akira. I said, well, I'll put it in there. A lot of people think it's supposed to be motor oil. And you think, oh yeah, that's what I was thinking. So when there's a lot of it that I asked her to do, and she just kind of ignored me. So I was never, not that I don't like it, but what I like about what Dave Stewart would do, because and I asked him to recolor that, and the big guy was, sometimes her color was very kind of fantastic, and I wanted the colors to be based in reality because the thing is so goofy. I didn't think it needed another level of fantastic. And I don't know if that makes any sense, but
No, that makes because it's a grounded atmosphere with fantastical action and story. That makes
and I was like, well, if the colors is real fantastic, then it might it's overwhelming. I thought so.
Yeah,
and a lot of people prefer people that ask me, they go, "Did you know they recolored Hardboiled?" I go, no, really?
You bet.
And the big guy, when I did the big guy, I told her I wanted the monster to be the color of a wasp. I said, I want it to be yellow with these stripes. And she said, no, it's too much work.
It's too much work.
Said,
For me specifically, I wanted to compare these two panels because I think in this version, everything is sort of bright and poppy.
Yeah.
But in the Dave Stewart version, he reserves the bright and poppy parts to be specifically for Rusty. And I think it's just more effective, in my opinion. But I know a lot of people really revere the original colors.
Yeah. That's them. That's
and I understand. I'd seen Robert Altman did a version of Popeye. Yeah. And it always struck because I thought it was really amazing because the sets were all in earth tones. And then he had these cartoon characters in front of him, and they pop so well. And I was like, wow, that's such a great idea. That always kind of stuck with me. And I really like woodblock prints. I really like, Hokusai and Kuniyoshi and those guys. And I'd like that. When I talked to Dave, he said, that's the kind of color I like.
Yeah.
But these like this panel, I thought was specific that the colorist did. That one, the two of them side by side. But I really liked. With Dave, when he started doing Shaolin, which was with the second one, I was like, "That's it."
Yeah.
And I said, "These are the exact colors I want." And I hardly ever had to change anything except that say, "Can we have a little bit more blood on the chainsaw or something like that?" But I think I could count on one hand the number of things I asked him to change.
He's really great.
There are always just things like, well, that should be a shoe. And so,
I'm a huge Dave Stewart fan. So immediately, for me, nobody can compete with Dave Stewart. So automatically, everybody else.
Yeah, he's a really sweet guy, and he's he's not coloring the next one. It was just too much for him, and I understood. The first time he worked with me, I thought I'm gonna wear out my welcome. The last one, Cruel to Be Kin, really kind of.
I love how the color flatters get. This is the only comic where color flatters get a credit.
Yeah, I thought it was really important that because it's not. Although one time Dave by accident sent me just the flats, and it freaked me out. Because I thought my work looked so horrible. Oh my God! Please don't ever do that again. I've a hard enough time, but that just really because they're all in these fluorescent colors. It's just
I wanted to ask. I'm going to try and get as many questions as possible in. No, I'll let you go soon. But there was a comic called Neon Red that you were working on at one point. What was that?
I was a really big fan of Buckaroo Banzai. Oh, cool. And I wanted to do kind of a Buckaroo Banzai, and it was going to be, Neon Red and the writers of the printed page. It was going to be called the writers of the purple. Anyway, and I proposed that to Marvel. And I think Archie Goodwin liked it. He said it kind of reminded him. He said it was kind of like he compared it, which was very flattering, to like Coen Brothers, because I think Raising Arizona had come out. But but I don't know. It's in fact that drawing you showed me from P. Lot, that was probably the only drawing of Neon Red.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
And I actually got to meet, and I'm friends with the creator of Buckaroo Banzai, Earl McRoche. And we were going to do a comic together. He's an amazing writer. If he writes something for you, and I read it, I go, yeah, I like this, and maybe we could do this. You go, okay, and then the next week he give me something. It was something totally different. He never gave me the same thing twice. It was like, I go, no, that was fine then. I just thought maybe you could have like a dinosaur or something. I don't know, some stupid thing like that. He goes, okay. And then I get something to be totally different. It's like, wow, he's a really amazing writer. He had a script he was going to do. They almost made a pilot. And the name of the main character was Dick Reddy, which I thought was such a great name.
Dick Reddy.
Dick Reddy. Yeah. He's really amazing. Anyway.
Okay, so another question I had was, you helped on the Rocketeer the last issue.
Yeah, well, kind of, yeah.
What was your contribution to that?
There's a scene where he's in the, Dave, he's flying around, he's inside of a tenement building.
Oh, yeah.
And Dave wanted me to do the background because he didn't want to, so I drew these staircases and I drew all the backgrounds, but I had like rats and I had garbage, and by the time he was done with it, it looked like it was like the nicest tenement slum building you ever saw. Because him and I mean, I worked one time. I did some work on the rocket pack when they were working on the movie. He asked me to do a few drawings.
Oh yeah,
very cool.
It's notably different from the comic version.
Yeah. But but him and I mean, he always I remember he was kind of baffled by, because he had seen my the first Shaolin. I showed it to him, and he didn't say this. He told this to Jim Silk, and he said, "Geez, because I don't know, he's got all this action. I think it's too much action," which kind of made me laugh because I got Dave. Because I was like, Dave, you got to put a little more action in this comic book. Yeah, got the Rocketeer doing more stuff. But two different guys. I mean, we're so polar opposites, but he was a really, really nice guy, and I really miss him. He was a really, really good guy.
Yeah.
I remember
Right on.
reading that Dave Stevens was under the tutelage, or he worked in the same studio of William Stauft.
Yep, Stauft was in there. Paul Chadwick. Joe Chido, and also Richard Hescox. But I knew him, and it was just him and Stauft were the only guys I saw when I went in there.
I've always thought your monsters were very Stauft-esque.
Yeah.
Where and a little bit of Mark Schultz too, I see in there as well.
Yeah, not so much. I looked at him. I looked at Bernie Wrightson. I used to be, oddly enough, I went through a Bernie Wrightson phase. Not that you would ever. No one's ever seen my Bernie Wrightson kind of drawing.
But those drawings are somewhere in that studio behind you.
Yeah, we'd love to.
Somewhere. Yeah, I also, the guy that I really had the earliest influence in, it actually showed him before Giraud, was Von Baudet.
Yeah.
I love Von Baudet. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I saw him drawing at the New York Comic Con. It was right before he died. And I remember watching him sitting there. He was doing someone had hired him to do a commission. And I was like, what magic to me. I'd never seen somebody draw. It's like, wow. Like watching, then after that, Moebius was like a magician. I was like, oh my God. Yeah, that's something. Do a signing with Moebius. That's very humbling.
Yeah. Wow.
I could imagine so.
I guess he had a lineup around the block.
Yeah, well, but when we did them in France, and there was always people, but it was, the French were so funny because some of them were like, I can't bother to come to the show, so they'd just leave their books off, and you'd show up and there's like a stack of books already, and it's like, fuck, man. Some people I understand, but some, and the other thing was they have these things called golden books, which is like just a sketchbook, and you page through this thing, and they got Asterix and Carto Maltese, and I was like, oh my God, and then sometimes they'll come up and they go, so which comics do you read? Oh, I don't read comics. I get drawings.
I wanted to ask you about that.
Anymore. It's kind of ended.
When you do signings, you don't do you draw in Europe? Do you draw in every book?
Well, yeah, I always have. Yeah, they're not very good, but I always do. Even at shows in the States, I always do a little doodle on things.
So it's like a 2-minute drawing, or
Yeah, I just something simple. Something well, sitting with Moebius, said, see, you always have a drawing you go to, and it would be a head.
You always do like a profile usually.
Yeah, something
Yeah.
like, and you can do it fast. And if
Mhm.
it becomes too much of a job, I don't want to do it. Occasionally, I'll do something a little more, but I don't like drawing at the shows because it's hard to concentrate. How about you guys?
Oh yeah.
They're asking your questions. I'm trying to figure out, how's this foot connected to this or that. And that's why I watch guys like Jesus, like Michael Golden, and he's there and he's doing this fucking beautiful drawing.
Masterpiece.
But he doesn't really talk to people. He has someone there that.
Yeah.
That's true. Yeah.
Do you have any plans for American conventions anytime in the next couple of
Yeah,
years?
I'm gonna be at San Diego for the first time in 9 years. 8.
Right on.
Very cool.
Oh wow, very cool.
There's a comic will be out that month, and I'm gonna be with my daughter who had her comic that came from Dark Horse last year.
What's that called?
And then it's called Tramps of the Apocalypse.
So make sure to pick up Tramps of the Apocalypse and Shaolin Cowboy, staying A.I.Live.
And then I'm going to try if I get accepted into it, New York. Let's see.
Yeah, you might have a gallery show, you said?
Well, yeah, but not this year. Probably it's supposed to be in 2027. So.
Oh, okay. Okay.
The far off
If
future.
the hantavirus doesn't get me.
Yeah, stay safe out there in France.
Well, I have like 1,000 more questions, but I guess that means that.
I'll answer 3 more questions and then I'll go.
Oh, okay. Wow.
You each get a question if you want. There you go.
Okay, well, I wanted to ask you about Doc Frankenstein because this was your idea, right?
You were the first guy that have ever asked in all the interviews that no one ever asked me.
Well, I'm glad I got
That
it
was
in.
the comic I was working on, The Matrix, and that was the comic I was going to draw. And I'd come up with this thing, and I had really liked. I was reading a lot of pulps, and I liked Doc Savage.
Right.
And I thought, well, what if the Frankenstein monster didn't die because he was kind of born as a child, and since he lives forever, he could just attain more and more knowledge, and so you could follow him like he's out west, and he's like a bounty hunter. And I had all these ideas, and then he becomes this kind of a savant, a genius who's constantly being. The Vatican wants to kill him because only God can create life, and yet he's like this creator life. So he's and they were sent all this crazy stuff like they'd send werewolves. The Vatican had werewolves that were sending out to try and kill him, and he had a piece of America that was ceded to him by America. So it's a sovereign state, it's a sovereign country inside of America, and all this stuff. And then I got. And I got after drawing The Matrix and all these machines, it was going to be really complicated. And I've been watching a lot of kung fu movies and westerns, and I thought, I'll do that. But Steve, I shared a room with Steve Scroce, and he brought it because when they were going to start Burley Man, he said, "Hey, would you write that Doc Frankenstein thing?" And I'll draw it. And I said, Steve, you can draw it and write it because I think he's a really good writer. And I said, you don't need me. I said, I'll tell you my ideas, and then you just run with it. So that's Doc Frankenstein.
That's very nice of you. That's very kind.
He's a great guy. Fantastic artist. Read Steve Scroce comics.
Yes.
Oh man, he's on my bucket list to interview as well. So.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because I love his work, and it is a very cool comic too.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
What was your experience like
those
giving it away and then reading
those
it?
first 3 pages is something that I wrote. It was going to start exactly like that. Except that he was only going to be
including having Bush in there.
Pardon me?
Including having Bush in there. Like George Bush?
Yeah. Oh, I don't know about Bush, but that I think he had it. But I mean, the whole idea was that the America didn't like the fact that he had this, and they were always trying to get rid of him. But that whole first thing with the monster, and I think he says something like talks about this villain called Yellow Sven or something. That was all. But then after that, then it's pure Wachowski. They took over, and it's like totally, completely something else. Theirs is much more intelligent than the version that I had in mind.
This gives me
I mean,
rights.
no one, it becomes this whole like science versus religion thing.
Yeah.
But I mean, I would have loved to read your version. I mean, this just seems pure Geof Darrow. You know, like
that was my. He's hanging off a building and he's killed this giant monster. And
what was your experience reading this after having given it away?
I really liked it. The only thing that bothered me about it, I told Steve, God damn it, because there's a guy in there who's. I remember I told you about Earl McGruder. He wrote this character called Dick Reddy, which I thought was a good name. Well, I came up there. He's got like this sidekick, and he's this really old cowboy named Texas Dick. That was a funny name. I was inspired by it. But he was supposed to be. He's immortal because he got a blood transfusion from Doc Frankenstein to save his life, and so he was immortal, but they turned him into a werewolf. Like, he can't be a werewolf. That really bothered me.
You can't cross those streams.
Old and old, and that's the only thing that bothered me about it. But yeah, it's very smart and funny, except for the guy being a Texas Dick being a werewolf.
That's fun. That's cool.
So Taylor and Nick, did you guys have any?
Nick, you go ahead.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious for mainly our listeners too, because I know there's a lot of aspiring comic artists out there. What are some pragmatic approaches or things that you would suggest for people trying to break in the industry? What kind of pitfalls to avoid, and just what kind of advice would you give to an artist trying to get something published?
Yeah, I need advice.
Oh, God, you know, I have so little. The advice I give is, and I didn't do this on purpose, was to hit yourself to a star. But it was never. I never did it. You probably think I'm lying. I never asked, Moebius to do something for me. Frank Miller the same way. I got lucky.
Just be likable.
I
never had to. I always had the door open for me. I mean, I did City of Fire with Jean, and suddenly, who's this guy? And this American guy, and he's, and people were looking at it because I was working with Moebius. Come to the States, and just saying with Frank, and it's like, well, nobody knows who the fuck I am, and people picked it up because it's Frank Miller. So,
yeah, but you're being self-deprecating. But the work is amazing. The work is stunning.
Well,
Moebius and Frank Miller wanted to hitch their wagon to you.
Well, I never really had to knock on the doors, really. I mean, I did mention that I showed it to Archie Goodwin, but at the time that style was just there's no way that's going to fly anywhere. But I went to Europe. I mean, I went to Europe because that's where I thought I belonged, because I was more interested in the European comics at that time than I was America. I'd stopped buying most stuff except for, Alan Moore and Frank Miller, and Walt Simonson, another guy I always, because I think
that was a smart approach, especially considering the time where internet wasn't as prevalent. Nowadays it feels like you can kind of work from anywhere.
Yeah.
With anyone, but at the time it's like, if you kind of want to be there, if you want to be an actor, you better be in Hollywood, right?
Yeah. And when I was in comics in the early 80s, you had to be in New York, and I think it was FedEx that made it possible. FedEx, and I remember Kirby moved to California, and they're going to work with Kirby no matter where he is, and that kind of opened the door for other people not to have to be in New York.
Yeah.
Truly, he is the king.
Yeah, sweet guy, really wonderful guy.
Is there any advice you have towards becoming a better artist? Like what is a quality that an artist needs in order to become better?
You stole my question, nerds.
Oh,
mine is draw what you don't like. Draw what you think you can't do. Don't be afraid of. Like when I hear people, I'm not gonna, because machines scared the shit out of me.
Right.
But I kept drawing them, and then but draw what you can't draw.
So get out of your comfort zone.
Yeah, exactly. That's well put. Yeah, for me, that's Don't, because that's how you'll become better. Because you'll kind of broaden your scope. Don't just, and there's more to comics than the splash, so, which is the fun things. Those are always that's what I always had my problem with a lot of comics in the 90s. Like the names, like the splash page. That's the easy part.
Yeah.
But it was popular, and every other page was a splash page.
For me, my favorite pages of yours are the ones with the micro moments. Like I know you're keeping all the Shaolin Cowboy pages, but I like fantasize about like owning one of these pages where, you're having these micro moments of like well choreographed action.
Thank you.
I mean, I enjoy those more than the splash pages. I guess it's pure comics, right?
Well, we were talking about that earlier, where some panels kind of need to be pedestrian to move the story along. Not everything's going to be a knockout shot. Not everything's going to be a splash page. And I think newer artists do need to kind of look back a little bit more at what the comic artists are doing, like guys like Kniff and stuff, where you can really see they're just trying to pack as much information into every panel, but it's more about the beats of the story.
Yeah. That does actually lead into a question. This will be our final bothering of you. When it comes to, because you're well known for packing these panels with information, visual information that fills in the world. Like the worlds you're creating are just so well realized. What is your approach to putting everything from like crushed beer cans and loose cigarettes to just the broken down cracks on concrete? Is that just like, well, I know what this place is going to be, so it needs it, or are you making it up as you go?
I'm making it up, but at the same time, it's like cracks and stuff. I think it gives character, because I always think of backgrounds as being, you got the protagonist, you got the villain, and then the backgrounds are the third character for me.
Okay.
So I'll put, probably ridiculously so, I've been in the beer cans and stuff, like being in nature, and you're in some pristine area, you think it's pristine, and you find like a beer can or a cigarette. It's my my pretentious view of the world is just like, people don't give a shit about, we're treating the world like a garbage can. And
I mean, if you're not angry about that, there's something wrong with you, I think.
Yeah, and I just put that in there, and I don't know if people notice it or not, but I mean, and I have like graffiti on, because I'm just something like, fuck, well, you had to put your fucking name, that's going to make you immortal. You're going to put something on the Grand Canyon or in Yosemite or in so.
It does feel like the Shaolin Cowboy, the world he lives in, is hell.
Yeah,
it's like a heightened version of
quite degenerative.
Yeah. I mean, things I've seen, like I've been driving, my wife and a daughter, we went on vacation, and we were driving through, and it was going to Wisconsin, because my wife and I work, and they go skiing, and they went skiing up in Wisconsin or something, I don't know. But on the way there, the things that were on the side of like shops that you could visit were cheese, alcohol, and porn. It just cracked me up. It was like, all the essentials right there. And so that kind of stuff, that kind of observation that I, and also from being in Japan, I'm a very, very, just the commercialization in Tokyo always really got. Yeah. But a lot of it comes from working with Moebius as well, because he's, create a world, don't make it your own. And
that's interesting. Create a world, don't make it your own. Okay.
Yeah, that's how you get like the vision of the artist, where it's like a unique point of view, right?
Yeah. And it's not. Try not. Say this. I'm going to sound pretentious. not generic. It's, you know.
Oh yeah, that makes total sense. Yeah.
Yeah, you want to inhabit the world, not necessarily control it. When you see a lot of these characters and things, you know, even just in our own lives and the intersections and the weird things that kind of happen, the randomness of it all. I mean, those things need to be reflected in the panels as well, I think, if you are a serious world builder.
Yeah, and I think. What was the name of your, when you talked about my comic, it was Why Does Everybody Hate the Shaolin Cowboy?
Yeah, I wanted to ask about that too.
Because he always makes the wrong decision, and he's pissed off so many people. At times it's petty. I mean, especially in the first one.
Oh yeah, one of my favorite sequences
you
is
cut me off in line, 30 years ago. And you're still holding a grudge for that.
Yeah, I was thinking it was just like he's a calm man moving through a chaotic world, and it just reacts against it. Against him.
He's done things that were like, in the first one, he eats goes that all you can eat buffet.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, he gets quite gluttonous.
His appetite generally gets him into some kind of a problem.
Yeah. So he's a product of this world.
Yeah, he's made a lot of mistakes. He's not I think maybe in that Cruel to Be Kin, if he hadn't sort of reconnected with that dragon, he wouldn't have got them all killed. I thought that was pretty sad. He's not a good guy to be around because bad things happen.
Yeah.
To him because everybody wants to get him because he's pissed somebody off.
But I mean, it does. I mean, my interpretation was always that he's a well-meaning person in hell, basically, in a world where everybody is a degenerate, where like this sequence right here is sorry.
Generally, the animals are okay for the most part.
Yeah. But it just seems like you cross paths with a degenerate, or you can accidentally create someone who wants to get revenge, which is this sequence right here. And something that we haven't touched on is like Shaolin Cowboy is an incredibly funny comic.
Yes.
Thank you.
I mean, I'm so entertained by this comic.
Surprised.
I could go on, and I think the funniest and best written was Cruel to Be Kin. It's shocking how much you just get better and better.
That crab on top of the woman's head, he was gonna in the movie the Tomb of Doom, the crab is in there, and I was gonna have him do it. He's like sitting on top of it. It's supposed to be Keanu Reeves's head, and he's controlling Keanu Reeves's body, and just like in this comics. I thought that
would have been great. Yeah, I'll bet Keanu would have done that for too.
Yeah, and his only, I think, and actually, Lily Wachowski, I guess had written the script, and she added a line that it was really funny because at one point the crab falls off Keanu's head, and he realizes, he's like, wow. He's like, well, last thing I remember, I was trying on a pair of pants at the Gap. And then the crab jumps back on his head, and he's back to being his own. I thought that was so funny because Lily is so funny.
Yeah.
Do you have access to the anime at all? Like what has been completed?
Yeah, I have. You can find a little bit of it online.
Yeah,
somebody filmed it at this show that they weren't supposed to be filming it.
There was like a panel that you did.
Yeah, and I ran the clip of it, and there's this whole thing with this. He's fighting this because I used to have a hermit crab, and I thought instead of a shell, these giant crabs were using like cars as what their body would go into. And there'd be people sitting in the cars, and I put that in a little bit of that in the third book.
In Who Will Stop the Rain.
Yeah, because I always thought that was a funny idea.
But like, so you're able to like at your home computer or whatever, like watch bits and pieces of the anime that was completed, or
yeah, and I've got like they did because in Japan it was like 40% finished.
Oh,
But the thing is, it's not the way you think, because in Japan, they do bits and pieces. They'll do like, one scene where he's walking in a room, and then the next scene is a guy putting on his shoes, and it's none of it is sequentially done, because they go, this guy, we need the guy that's really good at the guns, and he's going to do that scene. It's kind of like a house that has, there's a stairway that leads to nowhere. There's carpeting down. There's a toilet, but there's no one room was complete in the house, because it all comes together at the end, and they don't do pencil tests. And the fact that what you can find online exists is something they never do. You have to pay for that. They just do the whole thing, and then when it's over, they'll yank and pull and change stuff. So although it's 40% finished, you couldn't see it. You wouldn't have like 40 minutes you could watch.
Right.
Dang.
Just kind of, but I have we did an animatic of the storyboards and that kind of, the film exists as a kind of an animatic of sorts, but there's only about 2.5, 3 minutes of footage, and it's all really kind of, there's one sequence where you see him fighting, and there's a sequence where you see the Keanu Reeves guy, I think, because he's the crab runs a strip club, and
I wish this could get made.
Yeah.
Or finished.
And I think last I heard, I think they threw it all away.
Still got, couldn't even send it to you.
No, they would never do that. I mean, they got screwed. They really got screwed, because they put all this money into this thing, and the Weinsteins backed out, and they were just left holding the bag. And they couldn't get the money. It was it was in 2008, 2009, when the whole financial system we were going to that huge recession, and no one was going to put money into this goofy movie. And it wasn't that expensive a movie. It was going to be $4 or $5 million, which is a lot for a Japanese animated film. But
truly, they can't help but be terrible. Yeah, those Weinsteins.
It was interesting. We had a guy called Yuasa. I don't know if you know who Yuasa is, but he actually was Japanese. They had him. He animated and directed an episode of Adventure Time, but he did a movie called Genius Party, and he did another one. It's really crazy stuff, and he was going to do all the crab. The crab does flashbacks, and he was animating the world is seen through the eyes of the crab, so the style of animation changed, and it was really neat. That sequence you can see. There's that whole training sequence from the first series, where you see the crab going to the Buddhist temple. That was all animated. That was kind of finished.
So what's stopping you from releasing some of this into the internet?
Because I don't know. I just don't want to. It's a painful memory. Yeah,
it's understandable.
And I don't know that I would have a right to do it. They might come after me. I doubt it. They probably wouldn't notice it.
But you don't want to risk it. You don't want to lose.
Yeah.
I mean, I doubt that the Japanese aren't as litigious as the people in the States.
Corporations, love their money. So, and they'll get it anywhere they can.
Yes, and they are.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for taking so much time, and
thank you for putting up with
we can do it sometime.
Technological incompetence.
If you want to come back, we would love that.
We would love it.
Maybe after that next one comes out, if you want to talk
absolutely
about it.
So I should say before we leave, we're all artists, so let's all just do some promo stuff. So I'm the artist of Assorted Crisis Events, and so that's it's an ongoing series coming out from Image Comics. Issue 9 is very late, but will be coming out in a couple weeks, 2 or 3 weeks. And Taylor, what do you have?
Well, I have done I've done Bourbon Threat here for today's episode, and make sure to check out Gravity Loop. Issue number 9 will have a new short story featuring Luke Zenith and Scorpio Gold. Check out gravityloop.org for more information.
And Villiger?
Yes, I'm Nick Villiger, and this is my independent comic, Radio Days. It follows Calgarian Astrid Ames as she starts a pirate radio show in her basement. It's got a cool intersection of music and poetry and philosophy and coming of age teen stories. So if you like things like Freaks and Geeks and Classy, things along those lines, this will be right up your alley. So this is issue number 0 right now. This is just a promo. I only printed 50 issues and they're all gone now. So, except for this one, which I might possibly be sending to Fantagraphics. We'll see.
Right on.
This thing's beautiful. And obviously out in, what is it, June or July is Shaolin Cowboy A.I.Live?
Yeah, and we got a hell of an array of variant covers, which, you know, I guess it's, you know, I got Peach Momoko and Daniel Warren Johnson and Adi Granov, and I'm going to forget people, and there's just so many. They're all really good. Ryan Otley, Dave Johnson. If you know Chris Namuri is a really fantastic French artist. If you want to see something really cool, go on YouTube. If you can still find it, called Ruthless Blades. It's a tiny animated film. It's about 10 minutes. It's so beautiful.
I will be checking that out as soon as we're done here. Yep.
Ruthless Blades.
Well, thank you so much,
Thanks, Jeff.
Thanks, Jeff.
Thank you.
Good talking to you.
Take care.